It started with an envelope. Cream-colored, elegant, with gold lettering that screamed money or effort or both. I opened it without thinking, expecting another credit card ad. But no, it was a wedding invitation. Jacob and Amelia, together with their families. Invite you to join them. I froze. Amelia. Not just any Amelia. My Amelia. Okay, not mine anymore. Not for 7 years. Not since college. But once upon a time, we'd been in love. Real, terrifying, let's drop out and move to Iceland kind of love. And now she was marrying my younger brother. I read the names over and over, as if they'd rearranged themselves into something less horrifying. But no matter how I squinted, it still said the same thing. Jacob was marrying Amelia. I hadn't spoken to her in years. And to Jacob? Not much better. We weren't estranged, exactly, just on different pages of the family photo album. I should have called him. Asked what the hell was going on. But instead, I RSVP'd, yes. With a plus one I didn't have. The wedding was a month away. In Charleston. Classy. Coastal. Painful. The family group chat buzzed for weeks. Tux colors, Airbnb options, rehearsal dinner jokes. I stayed quiet. Watching. Waiting. I didn't even know if Amelia remembered me. Surely she did. But maybe she'd tucked our time into a mental drawer labeled mistakes. We'd ended without a bang. More like a tired sigh and a maybe someday. And now she was my future sister-in-law? My mother, bless her cluelessness, called to gush. She's lovely, isn't she? So poised. So sweet. Honestly, I'm relieved Jacob found someone normal. Normal? I almost asked if she remembered my Amelia. The one who dyed her hair pink during finals and convinced me that love was a poem, not a plan. But I bit my tongue. Instead, I asked, does she remember me? My mom paused. Of course she does. She said she's excited to see you. Excited. A word that could mean anything. I booked my flight. And I packed more than clothes. I packed questions. Quiet, sharp questions that had waited too long for answers. I didn't know what I was walking into. I only knew this. I wasn't ready. But I was going. Charleston greeted me with thick air and the scent of magnolias. It had been years since I'd seen my family in one place, and even longer since I'd last seen Amelia. But the second I stepped into the Airbnb my mother had rented for the out-of-town guests, I saw her. She was standing in the kitchen, pouring lemonade into a glass pitcher, her hair tucked behind one ear like she always used to do when she was concentrating. She looked older, of course. Softer, more composed. But it was her. Still her. And she saw me. Her smile faltered, just for a second, and that second told me everything. She remembered. Not just my face. She remembered us. Hey, she said, setting the pitcher down with a careful clink. Hey, I replied. My voice sounded like it had walked in 5 minutes before me. Jacob barreled in from the patio, sunglasses on his head, beer in hand. You made it, he shouted, dragging me into a hug that nearly crushed a rib. I forced a smile and patted his back. Wouldn't miss it. Liar. He looked between me and Amelia and grinned. You two know each other, right? Amelia spoke first. From college. We had a class together. I almost laughed. A class. Try years. Try 4 Christmases and 2 heartbreaks and 1 apartment lease. That's right, I said instead. One hell of a class. We made it through the awkward greetings, the air heavy with things unsaid. Later that night, as people trickled into town and gathered for drinks, I found myself alone on the back porch with Amelia. The music inside was muffled. The silence between us wasn't. You look good, she said, not looking at me. So do you. Happy. Or at least convincingly so. She smirked. Same old sarcasm. I miss that. I leaned against the railing. So, Jacob, huh? She flinched. A flicker, but there. I didn't know he was your brother. Not at first. And when you did? She looked at me then. Really looked. It was too late. Silence again. This time it wasn't comfortable. I wanted to ask everything. Why she left. Why she never called. Why she was marrying him. But instead, I asked the one question I didn't expect to escape my mouth. Do you love him? She opened her mouth. Closed it. Looked at the stars. Then whispered, I don't know. And that was worse than hearing yes. The rehearsal dinner was held at a quaint, overpriced seafood restaurant on the waterfront. String lights blinked lazily above the patio, and the air smelled like old money and fresh oysters. I sat at the edge of the long family table, next to my great-aunt who kept asking if I had finally found a nice girl. Across from me sat Amelia, her eyes flicking to mine in a way like a metronome set to tension. Jacob was in full groom mode. Charming, loud, high on compliments and craft beer. Let's do toasts, he shouted mid-shrimp cocktail. Everyone say something nice, or at least funny. The toast started innocently enough, embarrassing childhood stories, inside jokes, a few too many references to Jacob's brief obsession with magic tricks. Then someone handed me the mic. "Come on," Jacob grinned. "Older brother wisdom." Everyone looked at me. I stood slowly, heart pounding louder than the wedding playlist. I hadn't planned anything. Except for maybe everything. I looked at Jacob. "You always did know how to steal the show," I began, forcing a chuckle. "Even when we were kids. Every time I built something, you knocked it over. Every time I dated someone." I stopped. The air shifted. People laughed nervously. I cleared my throat. "Anyway, you're lucky. Emilia's amazing." I looked at her. She wouldn't meet my eyes. But her hands were clenched in her lap. "And I hope," I continued, "that this time, you keep what you've been given. And don't knock it over." Polite applause followed, but the tension was thick enough to butter a biscuit. Afterward, while people mingled, Emilia pulled me aside. "What was that?" she hissed. "What was what?" "You practically told your entire family we had history." I shrugged. "Did I lie?" She looked furious. "This is my life now. I made a choice." I stepped closer. "Then why do your eyes say you didn't?" She backed away. "Don't do this. Not now. Not here." And she walked off. Again, I watched her disappear into the crowd, wondering if I'd just blown everything up, or if I'd finally lit the fuse that needed to burn. That night, I got a text. An unknown number. "Meet me at the pier. Midnight." I didn't need to ask who sent it. The pier was quiet, just the lapping of water and the occasional groan of old wood settling beneath my feet. Charleston's skyline blinked gently behind me, blurred by heat and memory. I saw her before she saw me. Emilia stood at the end of the pier, wrapped in a light shawl, hair loose in the breeze. She looked like a painting of a goodbye. I walked up slowly. "You came," she said without turning. "I'm not great at staying away." She let out a dry laugh. "Some things don't change." I stood beside her, both of us looking out at the water like it held answers. "You're angry," she said. "You have a right to be." "I'm confused," I replied. "Anger's in there somewhere, but mostly I'm stuck trying to figure out why I'm here. Why you're here. Why you're marrying Jacob." She sighed, long and tired. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this." "Then how was it supposed to happen?" She turned to me, eyes glassy. "We were kids. And I left. And that was my choice. I had to figure out who I was without you." I nodded. "And did you?" "No," she said. "Not really." We stood in silence for a long time. Then she said it. "Jacob doesn't know. About us." She shook her head. "About anything. He doesn't know we dated. Doesn't know we lived together. Doesn't even know why I left my last fiancé." I blinked. Last fiancé? I was engaged once before. A year before Jacob. He never asked. I processed that. "So you're marrying a guy who doesn't really know you." "I'm marrying someone who lets me be whoever I want to be. No questions. No history. Clean slate." I stepped closer. "But people aren't clean slates, Emilia. They're messy. They're chapters. You can't erase a story just because it's inconvenient." Her voice cracked. "I know. I didn't touch her. I didn't have to." Then she dropped the real bomb. "I'm pregnant." I felt the world tilt. "Jacob's." Her silence was a siren. "Emilia," I whispered. "I found out 2 weeks ago. I haven't told anyone. Not even him. And you don't know if I'll." "I don't know," she interrupted. "It could be his. Or it could be yours." Tom stopped. The ocean kept moving, but everything else froze. "I thought it was over," she said. "But seeing you again, it's like the past followed me here." I backed away. "You need to tell him." She shook her head. "I can't." "Then I will." She looked at me, horrified. "You'd ruin his life?" I stared at her. "No. I'd ruin the lie." The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck made of secrets. I couldn't eat. Couldn't think. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Amelia's face at the end of that pier, torn, scared, and possibly carrying my child. And Jacob? Oblivious. Whistling while sending out Spotify playlists for the reception. I wanted to tell him. Right then. Right there. But something stopped me. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was fear. Or maybe, deep down, I needed to be sure. So I did something I wasn't proud of. I stole Jacob's toothbrush. Not forever. Just for a little bit. And Amelia's water bottle. She left it on the table during brunch. I pocketed the straw. Yes, it was insane. But so was this whole situation. And I knew a guy. Back in New York, a college buddy of mine, Kyle, worked in a private genetics lab. He owed me a favor. Don't ask why. I called him. Is it illegal to test paternity without consent? A pause. Do you want the moral answer or the technical one? Just run the test. I overnight both items with a swab of my own. I told myself it was for clarity, closure, truth. But part of me knew I wanted control. Over the story. Over the chaos. Back at the Airbnb, Jacob asked if I wanted to hit the beach. I watched him pack sunscreen and flip-flops like the world wasn't tilting beneath us. Sure, I said. We drove out to the coast in his rental. Windows down, music up. He laughed. He joked. He told me how excited he was to marry the real deal. I smiled like a traitor. As we walked along the sand, he turned to me and said, "You ever feel like things are just finally going your way?" I wanted to scream. But instead, I said, "Sometimes." Then his phone buzzed. He checked it, frowning. Amelia just texted. Said she needs to talk. Urgently. My stomach sank. We turned back toward the car. I don't remember the drive back. Just the knot in my chest growing tighter by the minute. Back at the Airbnb, Amelia was waiting on the porch. Pale. Hands folded tightly in her lap. Jacob rushed up. "What's going on?" She looked at him, then at me, and said, "I think you both need to hear this." My heart slammed in my chest. Was this it? But what she said next was not what I expected. "I need to tell you both something," Amelia said, her voice tight, like she'd rehearsed the line 100 times and still didn't believe it. Jacob sat down on the porch step. I leaned against the railing, arms crossed to keep from shaking. "I lied," she said, "about how Jacob and I met." Jacob raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" She swallowed hard. "I didn't just bump into you at that bookstore. I looked you up." Silence. "I knew you were his brother," she said, looking at me now. "I knew the whole time." Jacob blinked. "Wait, what?" She kept going, fast, like if she slowed down, she'd fall apart. "After I left college, I kept tabs on both of you. Social media, alumni pages. Then last year, I saw you'd posted a photo from a family wedding. Jacob was tagged. I clicked through his profile. And then, she looked at the ground. I messaged him, under a fake name. Said I met him once at a conference. Flirty. Harmless, I told myself. My brain was short-circuiting. "You planned this?" I asked. "Not all of it," she said quickly. "I didn't think it would go anywhere." But Jacob messaged back. And he was sweet. Kind. And it felt safe. Like maybe I could build a version of my life that didn't hurt. Jacob stood up. "Are you telling me I've been living inside some emotional science experiment?" "No," she said. "Yes. I don't know. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I tried to end it a few times. But Jacob, you are amazing to me." "And me?" I asked. "What was I, just a ghost you couldn't delete?" She didn't answer. Jacob looked at her, stunned. "So everything, it started as a lie?" "No," she whispered. "It started as a search. For something I lost. Something I wasn't ready to lose." Jacob turned away, hands on his hips. "Jesus, Amelia." And then, almost like he remembered something mid-heartbreak, he snapped his fingers. "Wait, the baby. You're pregnant." She nodded slowly. He looked from her to me. "And there's a chance it's his?" The air thickened like fog. "I don't know," she said. "I wanted to find out, but I panicked. I didn't want to lose either of you." And then, to my horror, he turned to me. "You knew?" I hesitated. Then I nodded. "She told me last night." He stepped back like I'd slapped him. "You were supposed to be my brother," he said, voice low. "You were supposed to have my back." I was trying to figure out the truth. By going behind mine, I wanted to speak. To fix it. To undo the unraveling. But there was nothing left to say. Jacob walked down the steps, jaw tight. Amelia looked at me. "I'm sorry. For everything." But all I could hear was the sound of my brother's footsteps disappearing down the street, and the truth we'd all tried to outrun catching up to crush us. And then, my phone buzzed. A message from Kyle. Subject, results in. Call me. My breath caught. This was it. I locked myself in the guest bedroom and dialed Kyle so fast I nearly dropped my phone. My heart pounded against my ribs like it wanted to escape. He picked up on the first ring. "You sure you want this now?" he asked, serious for once. "No," I said. "But I need it." He took a breath. "Okay." So, I ran the samples. Yours, Jacob's, and the one from Amelia's straw. And there was a long pause. "Kyle, please." "The baby isn't yours," he said slowly. I blinked. Relief? Confusion? I couldn't even tell what hit me first. "You're not the father," he repeated. "And neither is Jacob." Silence. I frowned. "Wait. What?" "I double-checked the samples," he said. "Ran it twice. The DNA from the straw doesn't match either of you. The father is someone else entirely." My stomach dropped through the floor. "That's not possible," I whispered. "It has to be a mistake." Kyle sighed. "It's not. Unless there's a third brother in the mix you haven't mentioned." I didn't answer. Because in that moment, I remembered something small, irrelevant at the time. At a party a few months before the wedding, Amelia had posted a blurry Instagram story. Just 2 seconds. A clink of glasses. A guy's laugh. Familiar, but not mine. Not Jacob's. And suddenly, the fog lifted. There was a third option. Someone we hadn't considered. Emilia's ex-fiancé. The one she said Jacob didn't know about. The one I never met. The one she never named. I hung up with Kyle and stormed out of the room. Emilia was still on the porch, sitting alone, eyes red. I dropped onto the step next to her. It's not mine. She turned to me, startled. It's not Jacob's either, I said. I had it tested. She covered her mouth. Oh my God. Is it him? I asked. Your ex. She didn't answer. She didn't have to. I thought I was done with him, she said finally. We had one night. Just before I met Jacob. I didn't even think about it until after. I stood, unable to sit still. So this whole wedding. Everything. It's been a lie built on a lie. I didn't know how to stop it, she whispered. I kept waiting for a sign. For something to stop me. And I guess I was the stop sign, I muttered. She looked at me, shattered. I didn't want to hurt either of you. Well, I said, bitterness rising, congrats. You got both. I walked away without another word. This time, she didn't follow. That night, the family was in chaos. Jacob hadn't come back. My mom was calling everyone. My dad was muttering about canceling everything. And I sat in my room staring at my phone. The group chat pinged. It was from Jacob. Just one message. Meet me at the chapel. Midnight. The chapel was quiet. Empty except for the faint glow from a stained glass window where the moonlight poured through the face of a very disappointed-looking angel. Jacob was sitting in the front pew. Jacket off, sleeves rolled up, head bowed like he was trying to pray or scream, maybe both. I stood in the doorway, unsure if I should walk in or turn around and disappear for good. You came, he said without looking. I almost didn't message you. He looked up at me then. Eyes tired. Jaw tight. Sit, he said. I did. For a long minute, we just sat there in silence, like brothers do when everything's been said and none of it helped. You lied to me, he finally said. I did. And you tested the DNA without telling anyone. I did. He nodded. Emilia told me everything. The fake meet cute. The ex. The baby. Still marrying her? He didn't answer right away. I don't know. I thought she was the real thing. Turns out she was a real everything. A real liar. A real actress. A real mess. I snorted. You're not wrong. He turned to me. But so are we. I looked at him. You think you're some tragic hero in all this, he said. But you didn't come here to stop the wedding. You came to revisit the past. To poke the wound and see if it still bled. I swallowed hard. Maybe. She played us both, he said. But we let her. Another long silence. Then Jacob did something I didn't expect. He laughed. Low and bitter at first, then full-throated. Like something cracked inside and let the air out. This is insane, he said. I was going to marry a woman who catfished me with a pregnancy. She didn't know, I said. Didn't want to know, he corrected. Big difference. He turned to me again. We're not okay, by the way. I know. But we will be, he added. Eventually. You're still my brother. And I'd rather be pissed at you for the rest of my life than not have you in it. My throat tightened. You're not going to punch me or something? I asked. He smirked. I'm saving it for your wedding. We sat in the chapel a little longer. Two bruised brothers, stitched together by history and a shared disaster. And then he stood. I'm calling it off tomorrow, he said. No big scene. Just done. She'll go her way. I'll go mine. I stood with him. Need backup. He shook his head. I've got it. But if you ever see me downloading a dating app again, I'll throw your phone in the ocean. Deal. We left the chapel together. No dramatic exits. No angelic music. Just two brothers walking into whatever came next. Or so I thought. Because the next morning, Emilia was gone. She was gone. Not sleeping in, not taking a walk, not cooling off at a cafe. Emilia had vanished. Her dress was still hanging in the hotel room. Her phone? Powered off. Her suitcase? Missing. No note. No text. Just nothing. Jacob stared at the empty room like it might fill itself and if he just blinked enough. My mom was in full meltdown mode, half crying, half planning to sue the hotel for emotional distress. My dad was stone silent, sipping lukewarm coffee like it might make the day disappear. She ran, I said, even though no one had asked. Jacob didn't respond. Just sat on the edge of the bed, elbows on his knees, head low. I should have seen it coming, he muttered. Hell, you did see it coming. She was never going to stay, I said gently. This wedding was just the final mask. And once it cracked, she bailed. He stood up suddenly. Classic. Then something strange happened. The hotel manager knocked, holding a padded envelope with my name on it. I opened it while everyone watched. Inside, a letter. Handwritten. Emilia's handwriting. I hadn't seen it in years, but I'd recognize the loops in her lowercase g anywhere. I unfolded it slowly. It read, "Dear you. I couldn't say goodbye in person. I don't think either of you would have let me leave, even if deep down you knew I had to. This wasn't supposed to go this far. It started as a way to heal. I thought maybe if I could live someone else's life for a while, Jacob's life, I'd figure out how to fix mine. But I never stopped carrying the past. And you? You were the reminder that some things aren't finished just because you stopped talking about them. The baby isn't either of yours. You were right to check. I wasn't brave enough to. I don't know where I'm going. I just know I can't stay here and pretend I'm not broken. Tell Jacob I'm sorry. Tell your mom I loved her lasagna. And tell yourself this. It wasn't your fault. We were just too much of everything. Too intense. Too impulsive. Too unfinished. But I loved you. I really did. B. I handed Jacob the letter without a word. He read it. Once. Then again. She didn't even take her dress, he said quietly. Symbolic, I offered. He chuckled, dry and sharp. You always were the poetic one. We sat down on the edge of the bed, the silence oddly comfortable this time. So what now? I asked. Jacob sighed. I cancel the wedding. Call the caterer. Return the rings. Tell our friends and family it's off. And after that? He looked at me. I start over. Without her. Without this. And maybe, without pretending I'm okay all the time. I nodded. That sounds like a plan. He stood. And you? I think I'll stick around Charleston a bit. Process. Breathe. Jacob clapped my shoulder. Just promise me one thing. What? If you ever get the urge to fall for someone I know, don't. A week passed. The wedding was officially canceled. The guests were refunded. The cake, an absurd, four-tiered vanilla monstrosity, was donated to a local shelter. Jacob flew back to Boston, saying he needed time, space, and as few vowels as possible in his dating life. I stayed in Charleston. I didn't know why exactly. Maybe it was the weather. Maybe I was hoping to stumble across Amelia in a cafe or thrift store, pretending to be someone new. Or maybe I just wasn't ready to go back to my life, whatever that even meant now. I spent my days walking aimlessly, reading, writing things I didn't finish. Then, one night, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But something in me said, pick up. I did. For a moment, all I heard was static. Then a voice. Hey, it's me. It was Amelia. I froze. I'm using a burner, she said, her voice crackly but unmistakable. Don't bother tracing this. I needed to say one more thing. I sat down on the curb outside my Airbnb, holding the phone like it might vanish. You were right, she continued. About the masks. About the stories we tell so we don't have to look at what's really there. I told myself I was protecting Jacob, sparing you, rewriting the past. But I wasn't. I was hiding. Again. She took a shaky breath. The baby's not mine. I blinked. What? She continued, voice steady now. The test was wrong. I went to a real clinic the day after I disappeared. False positive. I'm not pregnant. Never was. I think. I wanted to be. I wanted a reason. A consequence. Something that made my confusion feel valid. I didn't know what to say. So I just listened. I'm not calling to ask for forgiveness, she said. I don't expect that. I just wanted you to know the truth. Fully. Before I disappear again. I finally spoke. Where are you? A pause. I can't say. Not because I don't trust you. But because if I tell you, I might come back. And I'm not ready for that. Not yet. More static. Goodbye, she whispered. And thank you. For being the first person who ever really saw me. Even if it broke us. The call ended. Just like that. I sat there for a long time, the phone warm in my hand, the words echoing in my head. She wasn't pregnant. None of it had been real. But somehow, that didn't make it less painful. It made it worse, because it meant everything had collapsed under the weight of nothing. But it also meant something else. I was free. No more half-truths. No more what-ifs. Just one last chapter to write. A week after the voicemail, I flew back to New York. It felt strange to return to a city that had kept moving without me, like a favorite song played in a different key. The streets were the same. My apartment was the same. But I wasn't. My phone was quieter now. Amelia was gone again, but this time, she'd taken the chaos with her. I didn't tell Jacob about the call. Not yet. What was the point? She was gone, and he was rebuilding. No need to hand him more ashes. But Jacob reached out anyway. 2 days after I got home, he texted. You around this weekend? Got something to give you. I assumed it was closure. Or maybe a punch. Instead, it was a small envelope. We met at a coffee shop halfway between his place and mine. He looked better, lighter somehow. No more tension in his jaw. No more cautious silence. Before she left, he said, Handing me the envelope, Emilia gave this to my mom. Said it was for you. Strict instructions. Open it when you're ready, not before. I stared at it. My name written in her handwriting. No return address. She didn't leave one for me, he added, not bitter. Just matter of fact. She said goodbye to you in person, I offered. Yeah, he said. She did. We drank coffee like normal people. Talked about sports, the weather, how his new job was going. It was easy. Then he leaned back in his chair. You know what's weird? He asked. I'm not even mad anymore. I raised an eyebrow. Seriously? He nodded. I think I wanted to be. For a while. But what's the point? We both got played by the same story. We just played different parts. I smiled. You're getting wiser in your old age. He grinned. I turn 29 next week. Don't push it. We parted with a half hug, the kind you give when you're still brothers but not quite ready to say everything's fine. Back at my apartment, I sat with the envelope for hours. I moved it from desk to couch to kitchen table like it might open itself. Finally, just past midnight, I tore it open. Inside was a photograph. Old. Faded. From college. Me and Emilia. Sitting on a rooftop. She had her head on my shoulder. I was holding a half-melted popsicle. We looked ridiculous. We looked happy. On the back, she had written, some people are chapters. Some are bookmarks. You are both. I stared at it until the tears came. Quiet. Not dramatic. Not cinematic. Just real. A year later, almost to the day, I found the photo again, tucked between a notebook and an old plane ticket. I hadn't forgotten it, but I hadn't touched it either. Like it was sacred. Or cursed. Life had moved on, as it tends to. Jacob was engaged again. To someone else. Someone kind. Someone boring. Thank God. He sent me the invitation with a handwritten note. No more surprises. Bring snacks. I started writing again, really writing. Not emails, not notes in my phone, but actual stories. I turned the whole mess into a novel, fictionalized just enough to avoid lawsuits. My agent loved it. You've got something raw here, she said. Like heartbreak with a sarcastic narrator. She wasn't wrong. And then, one day, while buying overpriced toothpaste at a Brooklyn drugstore, I saw her. Emilia. She was standing in line, holding a magazine and a bottle of kombucha. Her hair was shorter. Her posture less guarded. She looked normal, which somehow made her even more unreal. Our eyes met. For a second, time folded in on itself. That peer. That photo. That voicemail. She smiled. A small, genuine, non-apology smile. The kind you give someone you once loved and no longer run from. And then get this, a guy stepped up beside her. Tall. Soft-spoken. He whispered something, and she laughed. A real one. Not a performance. She turned back to me. Gave a slight wave. And left. No words. No drama. No request to rewind. Just a moment. A clean one. I walked home that day thinking how strange it was that the most important chapters of your life can end without fanfare. No final kiss. No explosion. No closure speech at the airport gate. Just a look. A smile. And the quiet realization that the story didn't need a rewrite after all. It just needed to end. So I went home, opened my laptop, and wrote the final line of my novel. He let her go, not because he had to, but because she was already gone. And for the first time in a long time. That felt like enough.